What's going on, everybody? My name is Miller, and in today's video, it's going to be our awards series prediction video. I'm excited about this one. It's one I've been thinking about doing for quite a while now, trying to wrap my head around who I think is going to win the awards: MVP, Cy Young, Manager of the Year, comeback player, all of it. So I'm excited to get into that. But as always, leave a like down below. Let me know you guys want to see more MLB content like this. My socials are going to be linked in the description below. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We just hit our goal of 100 subscribers, so I know who won. I'm just trying to reach out to them, make sure I talk to them before I announce who won the giveaway. And then, of course, I started the Diamond in the Rough podcast. We've had some awesome guests on. C-Brev, J-Pro Gaming, Big Baby David, Scuffy McGee's coming on. Excited about all of that. Now, let's get into our awards predictions. So, if you listen to the Diamond in the Rough podcast, which I do highly recommend, you know who I'm going to pick for the American League MVP award. And of course, that is my Yankee fan arch nemesis, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I just think he's got all the tools. Everyone's talked about all the weight that he's lost, how much of a stud he really can be when he's right, when he's healthy, when he's in shape. So I don't think there's any reason to think that he can't do this. I mean, of course, I know he plays in the league with Mike Trout, but I think he's going to take the world by storm this year. As a Yankee fan, I've seen a lot of Vladdy at bats. He's just one of those Yankee killers that's going to suck to watch for a long time, but at the same time, he's going to be so fun to watch, so good. It'll be exciting. But he's definitely going to hurt my Yankees for a long time to come. But anyway, a lot of people like to talk about how he hasn't lived up to the hype yet. I mean, he's only played in 183 career games, so not a ton of MLB experience. He's still about above average, even though people are saying he's been bad. I mean, a 106 OPS plus in his first year, and then a 115 OPS plus last year, in a year where he admitted he came into camp out of shape after the COVID-shortened season, and he was still 15% above average, and that was with not being in his best shape, admitting that he didn't do as good as he could have. So the sky's the limit for this guy, and so I'm excited to watch him. Just the way he swings, the way that the battles that he puts up, and then of course I'm always going to bring up his baseball savant numbers. In exit velocity and hard hit percentage, he's at 93% in the league, so he hits the ball extremely hard. He cut down on his strikeouts a lot last year. He's 84th percentile in strikeouts. Doesn't walk a ton, a little bit below league average, but with those numbers, not striking out, hitting the ball as hard as he does, he's going to be elite. I'm so confident in that. And then, of course, he's going to be moving over to first base, not going to worry about playing third base anymore. And I do think that's going to help him a lot. This is a theme I talk about with Gary Sanchez a lot. I think the Yankees are trying to make Gary Sanchez something that he isn't, and I think the same thing about Vladdy Jr. Just let the man play first base. He doesn't need to play the best defense. Let him hit. Let him focus on hitting. That's what he's best at. And I think now that he's playing first base, he can definitely do that, and he's just going to be a beast in the box. So I'm excited to see that, and I do predict that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is going to win the AL MVP in the year 2021. Clip it, book it, do whatever you want. So now moving on to the Cy Young. I wasn't going to pick this guy because it seems biased, but then I was looking at the top American League pitchers, and there's not a clear pick. Someone would kind of have to come out of nowhere, and I don't know who that would be. Maybe Jameson Taillon. Jameson Taillon's not my pick, but we're going to go with, of course, the Yankees ace, $300 million man, Gerrit Cole. And again, I wasn't going to pick him, but there's no reason not to. When you look at the second best pitcher in the American League right now is Shane Bieber, and then after that drops off a little bit at Hyun-Jin Ryu right now, ranked by MLB. And if you listen to the podcast, I'm going to bring that up a lot. I'm not super high on Shane Bieber. When you look at who he had to face last year, he didn't face that many good offenses. Yes, he had a historic year. He was so good, but then once he faced a good offense in the playoffs, my Yankees, he kind of just wasn't that good. So I'm not as high on Shane Bieber. Yes, could he win back-to-back Cy Youngs? Sure, but I don't expect that to happen. But when you look at Gerrit Cole, he's done this for a long time now. He's pitched in the best leagues. He's pitched against the best teams and been elite. So I just think I got to go with my guy, Gerrit Cole, to win the Cy Young. When you look at all of his numbers, they're incredible. I mean, last year, people said he had a down year, and he didn't really. I mean, he pitched in 73 innings in the 60-game season, had a 2.84 ERA and an 150 ERA plus. That's 50% better than league average. And then that's in a shortened season. That's with a new team. And he started out slow. He had almost a 4 ERA after his first few starts. So, he found it There's no reason to think he can't do that, especially with fans in the stands now. Guerrero is one of those guys that just absolutely feeds off of that energy, especially in New York. So now that we're going to be able to have fans in the stands, I mean, I don't think there's any reason to count against this guy. So he's my pick for American League Cy Young, and I'm very excited about that as a Yankee fan. Let's hope that. Now, the next award, Comeback Player of the Year. I just wanted to throw this one in there real quick. I mean, it's obviously Trey Mancini. He played in his first spring training game yesterday. He got a standing ovation. He got his first hit back. Of course, it's a spring training exhibition game. It doesn't mean anything, but he's healthy. He's back. He's going to win Comeback Player of the Year by a landslide. I mean, there's other guys that could technically win it, but you can't not go with Trey Mancini. He's been a great player in his career, and now that he's back and healthy, he beat cancer. It's just such a feel-good story, especially for that Orioles team that doesn't have a ton to look forward to this year. So obviously, Trey Mancini is going to win Comeback Player of the Year. The last award I wanted to talk about, and that's Manager of the Year. And this one was a little hard for me. Of course, there's guys that I could have gone with. Dusty Baker's still with Houston. Aaron Boone, of course, with the Yankees. Alex Cora is back with the Red Sox. They could surprise some people. But I actually went with another young, fun team. And I went with Scott Service of the Seattle Mariners. And I think a lot of the young guys that are on the Seattle Mariners team have a lot to prove, a lot to play for, especially after the whole Kevin Mather incident. So I think the Mariners could easily surprise some people. They could pretty easily finish third in that division, which is better than they've done in the past few years. A lot of those young guys are so talented, so good. Of course, Kyle Lewis won Rookie of the Year. Jared Kelenick's ready to come up. Julio Rodriguez is young and fun to watch. They have Justice Sheffield. They have Logan Gilbert. Tons of young prospects. So I think they could come up and definitely surprise some people. And if they do that, then Scott Service, their manager, is definitely going to get a lot of credit for that winning culture, changing the culture of that clubhouse. So he's definitely going to be a big part of that if they're able to do that. And I would not bet against it. Like I said, a lot of those young guys have a chip on their shoulder now. They have a lot to play for. Even a guy like Kyle Seager, chip on his shoulder now after what Kevin Mather said. So I think those guys are going to go out and try and play the best that they can and surprise a lot of people. So that's what I'm going to go with. And then, of course, we're going to move on to the National League. And my pick for MVP in the National League, and this was one of the easier ones, got to go with Juan Soto. I mean, he's going to be finally playing a full season. He's only 23 now, I believe. He's either 23 or 24. I think he's 23. I mean, he's probably the best pure hitter in the sport. Of course, he doesn't play the best defense, but there's no, whatever. He's going to be so good offensively that, I mean, it's just... the man puts up just incredible at-bats. I mean, he had almost a 500 on-base percentage in the 40 games he played last year. That is insane. Of course, that's only 40 games, but there's all the experts. Everyone just believes that Juan Soto is going to be the best pure hitter in baseball, and at such a young age. So I got to go with Juan Soto. Of course, there are other guys that could win. I almost picked Bryce Harper because I think he's got a lot to play for. But of course, I could have picked Fernando Tatis Jr. or Cody Bellinger or any of those guys. But I had to go with Juan Soto just because I expect him to just have such a monstrous year at the plate, help out those Nationals a lot, that you can't count against him. There's no reason to. So I got to go with Juan Soto. He's going to win MVP. His first of many MVPs, in my opinion. And then moving on to Cy Young. This one, of course, I could have picked a few guys, but there's no reason to pick against the guy that I went with, and that's Jacob DeGrom. He should have won his third Cy Young in a row this past year. Of course, Trevor Bauer won in 2020. I do believe that DeGrom should have won. Another guy that there's no reason to count against him. DeGrom pitched in the National League East and the American League East, which are two much better divisions than guys like Trevor Bauer and Yu Darvish pitched in. And so there's no way that DeGrom regresses. I think he's got all the tools. He seems to get better every year, which is just insane to think about. Of course, there are a couple of Dodgers pitchers that you could have picked, maybe even some Padres pitchers, but I had to go with DeGrom. I mean, you're a foolish man if you bet against DeGrom. Of course, it's like betting against Trout doing the MVP conversation every year. You know, I know I just picked Vladdy Jr., but that one's just I had to because I said it already on the podcast. With DeGrom, I mean, his career stats are amazing. He's on a Hall of Fame pace, and I just hope that the Mets finally give him enough offensive support for DeGrom to have the kind of year that he can. Again, in New York, that atmosphere, that the New York Mets are going to be a completely different team this year. They've got the new ownership. They've brought in a generational player in Francisco Lindor. The winning culture in that clubhouse is finally being brood, and it's going to be so much fun to watch, and I expect a guy like DeGrom to absolutely feed into that and just be even better than he already has been, which is absolutely insane to think about, but there's no reason to bet against it. So, of course, I'm going to go with DeGrom to win the National League Cy Young, his third and fourth in 4 years, and in my personal opinion, what should be his fourth Cy Young in a row, which is just a historic thing to even fathom and think about. We're living in an incredible era of baseball. And then, I didn't talk about Rookie of the Year for the American League. What is wrong with me? All right, real quick. Rookie of the Year for the American League, I'm going to go with Casey Mize. Forgot to mention that. Skipped over that on the page. With the runner-up being Alex Kirilloff of the Twins. But I think Casey Mize, he was sucked in 2020, but he's going to come up and figure it out. That's all I'll say about that. A guy who has all the tools to be amazing, so I'm just going to bank on that. Rookie of the Year, Casey Mize in the American League. Rookie of the Year in the National League, I'm going to go with Dylan Carlson of the St. Louis Cardinals. Of course, he came up in 2020. Struggled a little bit. The second time he came up, he definitely came up and played better. But another guy who's got all the tools to be successful. And I think he's extremely fun to watch. That Cardinals team is probably going to be the best in that division. And he's got guys to learn from there, of course, with Yadier Molina, Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado just came over. I know he plays the outfield, but hitting-wise, he's got tons of people to talk to and learn from them and be better because of them. So I got to go with Dylan Carlson of the St. Louis Cardinals. He's going to come and just be a cornerstone for that franchise and be amazing. And then I'm going to go with, for comeback player of the year, this is another short one, I'm going to go with Marcus Stroman. Opted out in 2020, and I think he's got a lot to prove, a lot to pitch for. And he's got that swag, that moxie, similar to Jacob DeGrom, because of the culture in New York now with the Mets. I think Marcus Stroman's he's gonna go out there and pitch to the best of his ability, which is great. He's got lots of talent. He's got a huge chip on his shoulder, so I don't think there's a reason to bet against him either. And last but not least, Manager of the Year in the National League. This one was hard. I'm gonna go with David Ross. And I know I didn't talk about any Cubs players or anything in this with my awards predictions, but in our NL Central podcast prediction video, I think the Cubs are probably going to surprise some people. You know, they don't have the best pitching, but their offense, I don't think there's a reason to think that their offense is going to be as bad as it was last year. And I think the Cubs could easily get second place in that division. They could easily get fourth place in that division, but I'm banking on them getting second place. And I think if they are able to do that, maybe they surprise some people. They have some bounce back candidates with Anthony Rizzo and Chris Bryant. So I definitely am going to go with David Ross of the Cubs. Of course, Jake Arrieta could come back and be great for them. So I think David Ross is perfect for that Cubs clubhouse, that culture, and I'm just going to go with him because I think the Cubs are going to surprise some people. That's going to do it for my awards prediction, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. As always, leave a like down below. Comment who you guys think are going to win the awards. And hit that subscribe button. Helps me out a ton. We're on the grind to 1,000 followers now that we finally hit our first 100 followers. So thank you guys so much for your support, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.